Aslam. How do we know what we know? Through guidance from the Creator, whom I call upon as Allah. We know through His guidance what we know. Other than that, we do not know. The enemy of society. Allah informs us who the enemy is. The enemy of society, the enemy of a community, the enemy of a people. The enemy is the thief. The enemy is the murderer. The enemy is the fornicator. The enemy is the fabricator. The enemy is the mischief maker. Allah has guided us into telling us who the enemy is. He has set out laws on how to deal with this enemy. Continuing with the declaration from the late Osama bin Laden, injustice had affected the people of the industry and agriculture. It affected the people of the rural and urban areas, and almost everybody complained about something. The situation at the land of the two holy places became like a huge volcano at the verge of eruption that would destroy the kufr and the corruption and its sources. The explosion at Riyadh and Al-Khobar is a warning of this volcanic eruption emerging as a result of severe oppression, suffering, excessive iniquity, humiliation and poverty. People are fully concerned about their everyday livings. Everybody talks about the deterioration of the economy, inflation, ever-increasing debts and jails full of prisoners. Government employees with limited income talk about debts of 10,000s and 100,000s of Saudi riyals. They complain that the value of the riyal is greatly and continuously deteriorating among most of the main currencies. Great merchants and contractors speak about hundreds and thousands of millions of riyals owed to them by the government. More than 340 billions of riyals owed by the government to the people in addition to the daily accumulated interest, let alone the foreign debt. People wonder whether we are the largest oil exporting country. They even believe that this situation is a curse put on them by Allah for not objecting to the oppressive and illegitimate behavior and measures of the ruling regime. Ignoring the divine Sharia law, depriving people of their legitimate rights, allowing the American to occupy the land of the two holy places, imprisonment unjustly of the sincere scholars, the honorable ulama and scholars, as well as merchants, economists and eminent people of the country were all alerted by this disastrous situation. Quick efforts were made by each group to contain and to correct the situation. All agreed that the country is heading toward a great catastrophe, the depth of which is not known except by Allah. One big merchant commented, "The king is leading the state into 66-folded disaster. We bemoan this and can only say no power and power acquiring except through Allah." Numerous princes share with the people their feelings, privately expressing their concerns and objecting to the corruption, repression and the intimidation taking place in the country. But the competition between influential princes for personal gains and interests had destroyed the country. Through its course of actions, the regime has torn off its legitimacy. Then he cites suspension of the Islamic Sharia law and engaging it with man-made civil law. The regime entered into a bloody confrontation with the truthful ulama and the righteous youths. We sanctify nobody, Allah sanctify whom He pleaseth. The inability of the regime to protect the country and allowing the enemy of the Ummah, the American Crusader forces, to occupy the land for the longest years. Kind note, the American people were invited by the royal family. The Crusader forces became the main cause of our disastrous condition, particularly in the economical aspect of it, due to the unjustified heavy spending on these forces. As a result of the policy imposed on the country, especially in the field of oil industry where production is restricted or expanding and prices are fixed to suit the American economy, ignoring the economy of the country, expensive deals were imposed on the country to purchase arms, people asking what is the justification for the very existence of the regime then. Quick efforts were made by individuals and by different groups of the society to contain the situation and to prevent the danger. They advised the government both privately and openly. They sent letters and poems, reports and after reports, reminders after reminders. They explored every avenue and enlisted every influential man in their movement of reform and correction. They wrote with style of passion, diplomacy, and wisdom, asking for corrective measures and repentance from the great wrongdoings and corruption that had engulfed even the basic principles of the religion and the legitimate rights of the people. But to our deepest regret, he continues, the regime refused to listen to the people, accusing them of being ridiculous and imbecile. Kind note, did he, this declaration, did he write it in Arabic and then someone translated it? The matter got worse as previous wrongdoers' doings were followed by mischiefs of greater magnitudes, all of this taking place in the land of the two holy places. It is no longer possible to be quiet. It is not acceptable to give a blind eye to this matter.